Hello, I'm Ashton Walker. Today we have Jerome Connor from the Gaston College Foundation joining us today for a conversation. How are you doing today, Jerome?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great, my man. I'm doing great. So you have an interesting life from being a student here twice to working various jobs and now being an employee here at Gaston College. How would you describe your first experience being here?
My experience, it was good. It was my first time here on campus. It just was the thing to do at the point in time. I believe I was 18 years old.
Right.
Just left out of high school, so I was fresh out of that. So I came to Gaston and was with a lot of my friends who didn't go off to four-year universities. So it was good. The teachers were nice, and I learned a good bit of things. It was kind of the start of my journey to kind of learn a little bit more about myself. But I will say the first time was not the best time at Gaston. I know that's something we'll probably talk about later. But I know when I first came to Gaston, as the semesters went by, it just started creeping into the, getting more comfortable. You start realizing people aren't holding your hand, and then you start not showing up for classes, and then, it just goes on and on into a cycle. And then, you start forming bad habits. So which is really strictly on me at that point in my first go around.
Right. So what kind of challenges have you dealt, being here for the first time?
The challenges, just like I said, it was, I was used to when I was in high school, if I didn't turn in an assignment, hey, Jerome, you make sure you turn in an assignment.
Right.
And I didn't have that, so I didn't think about it. And I just kind of went through the motions. But don't get me wrong, there was classes I did excellent in. But it's just, I kind of felt like, my heart wasn't there. And I think it was kind of more leaning towards this is hard.
Right, yeah, college is hard.
This is hard, and just kind of wanting to make these decisions, being forced to make these decisions that you've never had to make. Right. And you have a lot more freedom than you've ever had. And so my adolescent brain is thinking, what, do I really need to go here? Do I really need to do this? Or is there other opportunities to go out into the world and explore the world and make money and kind of do without the college? And I think that's kind of where my life's journey went. Was it the easiest? Absolutely not. But ultimately, I would like to think that it did make me the person I am today, to be able to have those experiences.
Right. So then you withdrawed yourself from the college, is that correct?
Correct. So I believe it was around 2019-ish or so. I just wasn't there. My heart wasn't there. And I was like, you know what? I need to make the money. I want to go ahead and make the money now. I don't want to wait till later. I want to go ahead and make the money now. So I went ahead and I saw an opportunity to work elsewhere. I think I worked for a car dealership was the first place. And I was like, oh, great. The things that I see in TV, they make good money. I think I can do this. And I can, live pretty good and not have to go the college route. So that's what I did at first. Mistake number one. And I will tell people it's not about chasing the money. It's not. And that's what I did for majority of my adolescent years, is I chased the money. So, but yeah, that's what I did first. I went from doing that and went into the car sales, like I said, and then everything was great for a while. And then pretty soon I started to realize what abuse in the workplace is like. So there's manager who always took advantage of me because I was in my 20s.
Right.
And I want to say he knew I was naive. He'd be like, oh, Jerome, get me this. Oh, Jerome, buy me this. Oh, Jerome, do this. And then I know one time I had like a car deal that made me a ton of money, and then because I didn't do what he wanted me to do, he just gave it away to somebody else for me to take half the money that I had earned on it.
Dang.
There's lots of things that happened in that role, and that was the point where I'm like, okay, I've started to dig myself this grave. I need to find a way out.
Right. So then later on, you got yourself, a wake-up call saying that, hey, Jerome, you need to go back to school and get your education. Like, how much did that mean to you to get back on your feet and come back here to get that associate's degree?
So that came a little later. I ended up leaving the car dealership, and I ended up working in mental health. So I worked in mental health for about 8 years of my career. And the first one was in a residential treatment center. I was going through a really bad financial time because whenever I left working from the car dealership, I worked for another company that ended up being a scam for me, and I lost out on a lot. And there were parts where I thought my car was going to get repossessed. I think I was like 1 month off from repossession, and I needed to make a quick change. I needed to do something. So it was like divine intervention. This job laid in front of me. It's like, hey, you can live here at this residential treatment center, no experience needed, and then after so many months you get so many $1,000 bonus. And I was like, hey, this is a way I can get my life back on track. So that's what I did. And while I worked there, it was very rough. Again, worked in a wilderness treatment center out in the woods with kids. I think I specialized at that point with teenage sex offenders for years. So, when you start doing that, this is where it came in to start realizing that I need to go back to school. I had worked there for about 1.5 years. And then everybody in the whole place was like, Jerome's going to get this promotion to be over all of us. And I guess how they divided the groups up. And so one of my buddies asked, hey, look, Jerome, looking for a job. So he came in, got him to get in. We were in the same group. He had been there not too much longer, and then it was between both of us at that point in time. But I was like, he just got here. How is he up for this? I've been here for so long. But you know what it was?
What?
Is because he had that piece of paper. And because he had that piece of paper, had an education from a 4-year degree from a university,
right?
It put him in a league above me, and that's what ended up happening. And so I knew that if I wanted to get somewhere, I needed to do that. I needed to not take any more shortcuts than what I had already taken. So at that point is when I left. I ended up working for another lockdown facility, and that's when I came back to Gaston. And I want to say that was probably around 2013, 14-ish. I came back to Gaston, finished up my 2-year degree at Gaston, and then transferred out of there and went to work for Atrium Health for another 2 years. Had a great experience there. But I knew I needed something more. I know I needed more than just my associate's degree. So I went on from there and got my bachelor's degree at Belmont Abbey. I went to both Gaston and Belmont Abbey at the same time, though Belmont Abbey didn't know. You got to save your money somehow or another. Some colleges don't like to know that you're taking classes at another college, but it was great. It was a great experience. I loved my experience at Belmont Abbey. Loved my second experience at Gaston College. It gave me a lot of confidence in a lot of areas that I didn't have a lot of confidence in. One being math. I deal with financial stuff all the time, but certain math I am absolutely terrible at. But they sat Babylonian, Egyptian, and probability and everything in front of me, and I aced it. And I was like, how did I do this? And one professor told me, it's not that you don't know how to do it. It's just the fact that somebody didn't teach you how to do it the way that you learn best.
Right.
And that stuck with me. And I was able to overcome a lot of my classes I had issues in that now I'm fairly good at now. So but that's what led me to get my education. So.
Right. And you were able to have a better mindset during your second experience as a college student compared to your first, right?
Yes. Yes, and I came in and I knew this is what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to come and get my education. I knew that if I wanted to get somewhere in life, I had to finish. I couldn't just do it halfway anymore. I couldn't just chase money around and go try to do the easy route. I had to do what I needed to do, even if it took more work than what I thought I wanted to put into it. It was the only way I knew that. It was the only way to actually get what I needed done. So I learned that lesson. It was harder than what most people should learn, but I'm glad that I learned it the way that I did.
Mm-hmm. So from all of the experiences and all the jobs that you've worked, did that influence you from choosing that certain career path that you're doing right now?
Yes, I will say, at first I thought, I talked to my advisor one time and she said, you have a vast history in mental health.
Right.
Why don't you go to be in mental health? Why don't you take some other social classes and do social work and go that route, since that's something that you're already in and you already know. And I respectfully told my advisor that I have been hit, kicked, bit, called everything but the child of God in mental health, concussions. I said, I would really rather not. So my dad for years had been in education. He worked for the government for a long time. And then when he left the government, he ended up working in education. And so I thought, hey, look, maybe I want to do that. And so my mom also worked for Gaston County Schools as well. And I was thinking, you know what, maybe I should try that. Maybe I should dabble into that. And when I declared that I wanted to go into elementary education, it was like everybody in my department thought I was the best person, or it was like their favorite child because I was the only male.
Right.
So, and they're like, oh, we get so many females, but we don't really get any males.
So you're pretty much like, what, like the only son?
I was like a celebrity at one point. But what ended up happening is at that point in my life, I was probably in my late 20s. Mm-hmm. I really didn't want to commit to doing the student teaching because it would take me out of work, or I'd have to work night shift for 16 weeks. I couldn't commit to it. So I asked my advisor at the Abbey, I said, is there another route that I could take? Because I really want to do education, but I don't really want to do the 16 weeks. So we talked about lateral entry, which is, I could take so many classes in the field of study that I wanted to, take the praxis exam, and then I could go in and teach what I wanted to middle school, high school level at that point in time. And so I was going to do history, but I think life just had other ideas for me. Right. As I was signing up to take the praxis, I saw some stuff for Gaston College, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I should give this a shot. I mean, I kind of really feel like I got my first start in education from Gaston. Maybe I should see where that goes. And so I applied for Gaston, and I want to say I got all the way to the last interview, and then I got beat out.
Wow.
And then, I was like, all right, well, maybe it just wasn't meant to be. So I applied for different places. Another year went by, and I saw another Gaston College application get posted, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should go ahead and apply for that one, because I thought, in my mind, because they look so similar, I thought it was the exact same job I applied for, a year ago. Well, I applied for it, and I ended up getting it, and I was actually working in the foundation. And so that was 2019. So since then, I have been in the Gaston College Foundation.
Sweet. Now that you've been part of the foundation for almost 5 years now, what's your biggest takeaway from all of this?
My biggest takeaway is being able to feel like you make a difference.
Right.
And I know every single department makes a difference in different students' lives, across their journey at Gaston. But I feel like the people in the foundation, I feel like we make a huge, significant impact. Students that need scholarships, we're able to raise the money for scholarships. We started a couple of events that we did. We started the 5K, we started bowling, all which are fundraisers, golf tournament, fundraiser, all of them to help student scholarships, student emergency fund, different aspects of the college that needs help to directly help students become successful. And I feel like my biggest takeaway is knowing that I can be a part of that system directly that helps feed the future of Gaston County and Lincoln counties, right. By providing all those different, financial needs to students. So it's great, and being able to, talk to some of the students too, and hearing their journey, and kind of talking about my journey. And I know last semester I was telling a student that wasn't doing so good. Right. I said, "Listen, you don't want to have to go through everything I went through. It's not fun. It's not fun at all." Not. And to kind of help them sway away from doing that makes a big difference too, because then you really feel like you just saved somebody years worth of trouble.
Right. So you're like someone's savior, pretty much.
I I wouldn't like to think of as savior, but I would like to think of it more as just making sure that people are just guided on the right path. Making sure somebody, they always say if you don't know your history, you're always doomed to repeat it.
Right.
So you need to brush up on it. So you should learn from everybody you can. While you have the chance, so that you can say, hey, look, I know somebody went through that same experience. I don't want to go through it either. So either I can make some adjustments, or I can just not go down that path at all. So.
Right. Well, that is surely enlightening, Jerome. Thank you for being part of the show today.
Thank you.
This is Ashton Walker with another episode of Gaston Spotlight, and always work hard.